When he starts drinking, like
Anything
We're live.
We are live.
We're live.
We're live? All right,
Yeah,
cool.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything. We're live.
All right, cool. All right.
We're live. We're live.
The show hasn't started, but
Yeah.
we are live on
Yeah,
camera.
we give all of our bonus content comes in the beginning of the show.
All
Chris.
right, cool.
That's what
All
we
right.
do. All right, we're gonna get started here. I'm gonna cue up some music. Hey, Chris. By the way, thanks for coming on with us. You know how much we miss having you here, and
Yeah, why aren't you here?
well, he'll be here. He's coming. He owes us too.
Yeah, we got him back.
I'll
We'll
get
him
in
back.
there, man.
We'll get in there. Maybe for the Final Four or something like that, or somewhere around there. We'll get him back in there.
I feel like playing some yacht rock for Naki.
Hell yeah.
Let's
There
do
you
that. Yeah, let's do it. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for hanging out with us, all you early watchers tonight on our YouTube channel. If you're watching, go to that YouTube channel for First Amendment Sports. Click on the subscribe button. Smash it. We really appreciate that. It helps us out a ton. You will get
Yes, we
updates and notifications on all of our shows and certainly all of our live game broadcasts, which is the heart and soul. Let's see here. All right, here we go. You know what? Let's do this.
Just go random.
Well, that's what I'm doing. You know what? That was... All right, here we go. All right.
Perfect.
We are ready to go. Or a song about it. Want to hear it? Here it goes. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Tuesday night. On behalf of First Amendment Sports and Basement Podcast Studios all across the land, I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin McClinton.
Good to be here, guys. First round, second round of the NCAA tournament is over, and now it starts to get a little serious with this Sweet 16. So I'm excited about it. It's the best time of year, man, to be honest.
It is the best time of year. Opening day for baseball. The Redskins haven't lost a game in a while. The Wizards are still bound for the playoffs, right, Juice? Ish.
Next topic.
Next topic.
Oh, my God.
You might notice there's no one next to me wearing a towel right now.
I should have the towel.
Named Froghorn Leghorn. Tim Strachan, you need to towel up, son.
I'm going to do my best Darren impression that I can.
Yeah, work on that.
I'll just say some nonsense every once in a while,
Yeah.
and I think that'll fulfill the...
Feel free to not back
fulfill the
any
role.
of it up with facts.
The stuff that,
Or data.
yeah, just totally...
Make sure you
Say something
chime in at the
completely
end
off
with
the
some
wall.
nonsense. That's what he
Don't
does.
co-sign with Strachan. Look, I'm
Knock
real
it off.
too.
Hey, you
Ken.
can hold that. Now you're in the shot in that spot, but you're a veteran. You give yourself a chance.
There you go.
I got to look
There it
out
is.
for my man
Sounds good.
Froghorn because Big Brother and Strachan aren't going to do it.
No, they're not. They're not.
And I made plans for
Nah,
tomorrow.
you know I'm
because,
always going to
I'm
look
just
after
glad
my
we
little
saw
brother,
him.
man. Yeah, I know. He had to go, man. He had something
did.
that he had to take care of.
Yep.
Nothing serious.
We
just
got it.
Sometimes
something he had
business
to
comes
take
up.
care of, man.
Hey,
So
I think I heard what happened.
what's that?
He heard Naki wasn't coming either, and then we just got punked around here.
Yeah,
man.
that's
Like,
probably it.
what are we
That's
doing?
probably
Punked.
it. That's
Yeah,
probably
what
it.
are we doing?
That's probably
Let's
it.
bring
But
it
He's
in.
fine. He'll be here next week.
Friend of the show and really a basement guy. The fact that he's calling in tonight on the basement hotline is not indicative of who he truly is. Chris Knoche, born to basement in every sense of the word. Thanks for being with us tonight, sir.
Anytime, and fellas, you know what? I'd love to be in. I feel like I've been on the road for like the last 2 months. in a
Yeah,
row.
I know you have.
I need a couple of nights off to decompress, and I get right back in there with you soon.
Hey,
All
that's that. We're gonna hold you to
That's a
it.
verbal
You're on-
contract.
you're on the Mount
Hey, that was an
Rushmore.
awesome answer. I thought it was going to be way like
You're
I
on
thought
the
we were
Mount-
about to
yeah.
take a jab.
Yeah.
You're on the Mount Rushmore of basement guests, by the way.
For
Chris.
sure he is.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's a
Who-
fact,
Who
man.
has who has the balls to even hang with you guys?
Yeah, I know, man.
Well, I think Smoot. You're gonna be up there with Smoot probably. He definitely has posted in a
That's
major
not the
way.
first. That's not the first list you've been on with Smoot, is it?
That's probably true. That's probably true.
I have
Oh,
no
man.
idea what you're talking about.
Hey,
There's a 1 seed in the East and there's a 2 seed in the South. I'm just,
that's true.
I'm just
That's
saying.
true.
There you go. There
Hey,
you go.
listen. Before we go any further, I just want to welcome everybody to another episode of.
The hot box.
This is the hardwood hustle. First Amendment Sports. We talk about basketball on the regular. We have special guests like Chris Knoche who come on and shoot us straight.
Yeah.
Chris, listen, let's just get right to it, okay? It's March Madness. I heard it in your voice on Sunday. Maryland's out. They lost to a team that we all are just waiting for for that win to be vacated. I know you've talked about it. We've all talked about it. That kind of kicks you right in the left nut, and then you have the 4-step travel that polishes you off on the right side. The Maryland Terrapins are out. It was heartbreaking. Can you just give us a little bit of something from your experience that day?
It was kind of a strange weekend from the perspective that, the basketball gods giveth and the basketball gods taketh.
Yeah.
We great game against Belmont on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon. Came down to the last possession. It was. I love the pace of the game. I thought the game itself was fun. Obviously, those games are a hell of a lot more fun when you win.
Yeah.
And it was, it's amazing. You walk in the locker room after the game, and the guys, to a lot of guys, it's a young group. I think they felt like it was sort of a breakthrough for them. They hadn't sort of questioned themselves over the previous couple of weeks. And then you play a really good LSU team, really good athletically, terrific team. And then, just a comeback for the ages. Great second half. It comes down to the wire. And then you're just left, kind of heartbroken. And I will tell you that, that it's kind of, and I don't think it's particular to college basketball, but it's one of those things where when you lose the last game, now keep in mind that our first exhibition game was right the day before before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking about a 5-month slog, basically. It's a long, trek. And so when you lose a game like that against LSU, there's sort of the season just comes to a thud. It's a deafening silence when it ends. And you've been going at it for 5 months, and then all of a sudden there's nothing. Yeah. And it's kind of depressing, to be honest with you, especially when you put yourself in position to win a game like that against a really good team on a national stage. There were a lot of compelling reasons to win that game. It was a big time college game. Just really disappointing ending.
Yeah, I Chris, to kind of piggyback off that, I thought that, the main thing I took out of that tournament is, Maryland fought. They showed a lot of pride. They showed a lot of heart. The one thing that just kind of concerned me is their starts. Like they seem like in the Belmont game and also in the LSU game, they couldn't get it going early, and they dug themselves such a big hole to the point where you're almost fighting. You're really, really fighting just to get back into the game, and that was just the most disappointing part of it to me, was just the start that they got off to. They showed some moxie, they showed some pride, they showed some heart, but you just don't want to put yourself in that kind of position in an NCAA tournament where it's win or go home. And that was tell me what your thoughts are on those starts that they had in the tournament.
Yeah, let's start with the Belmont game. I think people talk about how advantageous the draw was and that you get a chance to play a team that played in the play-in game. I'm going to tell you, Kevin, I think it's an advantage for Belmont. Sometimes the NCAA tournament is about finding a rhythm,
right?
And Belmont played a game on Tuesday night, less than 48 hours before playing the Terps, and they had found a rhythm. They scorched a pretty good Temple team in Dayton, and so they had sort of found their way a little bit. And then, conversely, you've got a Maryland team that most of these guys have never played in an NCAA tournament game.
Yeah.
So I thought what happened in the Belmont game, quite honestly, was sort of a little while for us to find a stride a little bit. The LSU game was different. I thought in LSU, and I can't claim to be objective. When you're with a team, all the time, it's tough to really maintain complete objectivity. But I thought the Terps got every shot they wanted in the first half. I thought they ran good stuff. They executed. They handled the boards well. They didn't turn the ball over. They just missed shots. They got all sorts of open looks.
Yeah.
and couldn't get anything to go down. And when you shoot 33% for the game, it's amazing that they put themselves in a position to win, shooting 33%. But I thought the starts to games this year, beyond that, Kevin, I think your point is good, because I think the starts to game this year were a problem. I'm just really struggling to put my hand on why that would be necessarily, but it seemed to be an issue, particularly in the latter portion of the season.
What about the youth of the team? The youth. I mean, they're one of the youngest teams in the country. The youth have some effect on that.
I will tell you, Coach, that you know the game cold, but youth is a bullshit excuse. It's not. It doesn't really work. When you play, these guys have played forever. They played. By the time we played in Jacksonville, these young guys, had not only played 30+ games. Mm-hmm. The freshmen had played a boatload of minutes. Man, you think about what Eric Ayala did this year, for instance, as a freshman. Jalen Smith. Those guys all started 25+ games. Ayala over 30 games, and I think that by the time you get to March, the relative experience of the team becomes kind of a non-issue. I think college basketball, almost by definition anymore, is just a really young sport.
Just an old adage now, right?
A lot of the good teams are really young.
Yeah.
Well, it's a level of basketball now where that's the only team they're playing for. If you're playing for Duke, you're not also playing for an AAU team or a club team or travel team, and they're playing year round. And they're semi-professional.
But it's not the same when Jay Wright wins a national championship with experience. I mean, people put a lot on the experience
honestly,
part.
I think experience. I mean, when you've got it, I think it shows. I think that, for instance,
Houston.
Michigan State has a guy, Cassius Winston, who was the player of the year in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. It's almost inconceivable to think of this. Cassius Winston sat behind Tum Tum Nairn for a year.
Yeah.
And that guy couldn't play dead in a Western. And Cassius Winston is legit. He's a 5-star kid.
I'm stealing that one, by the way.
What's that?
I'm stealing that. Couldn't play dead in a Western. I can't wait to say that.
Tum Tum just got stolen.
Yeah,
Sorry, Coach.
but I mean, it's amazing how the teams that do have mature guys who have watched and learned. I mean, you can tell, you can see who they are. Now, Duke is a different animal. Duke just has such a preponderance of talent.
Right.
You just, it's ridiculous what they've got. But I mean, they're kind of a different animal from the rest of the NCAA field. It seems like to me.
I think with the NCAA tournament, it really stands out when you have senior-laden teams or experienced teams. Those are teams you don't want to play. And I think that's a lot of time. That's how you see these upsets when you have your 12s playing your 5s and things like that, because you have a lot of teams like a Liberty or UC Irvine or whatever the case may be. You have teams like that have seniors and you have experience, and sometimes that dynamic shows up when you're playing against some teams that don't have that experience. Sometimes I think that can show up a little bit.
Yeah, Kevin, to your point, how about the 2 seniors on Belmont?
Yeah.
The one kid, Windler,
yeah.
He looked like a left-handed Larry Bird in that game.
Yes, he did.
And
he did.
He's a senior. He's played forever. The other guy, Kevin McClain, I think his name, the 2-guard who got off to a great start in that game. He had 19, I think, all told. Those are 2 seniors, and they played like it.
Yeah.
I thought Daryl Morcell did as good a job as you could ever do on a guy who scored 35 points.
Yeah.
The shots that he was hitting were just crazy.
Yeah,
so, and the story of the tournament, the Randolph Childress kind of story where, the story of the tournament, sometimes you see these star turns by guys, later on in their college career. So it does happen periodically, no question about it.
Absolutely. What's your moving forward? I mean, this obviously wasn't the ending that we wanted. I thought there were a lot of positives that came out of this season for Maryland. I think that, we talked about the youth and all that. Eventually youth become experience, and I think that's what we're looking for moving forward with these guys is, we did get a taste of what they're capable of and their potential in the tournament. They had a really good conference tournament. A very good conference season. And, we're looking for big things next year. But that all depends on who comes back.
Yeah, I wanted.
And I think that's a big question as far as who comes back. And Bruno, I'm assuming everybody thinks he's gone.
Bruno's gone.
But
I
you
want
got
to take
Sticks.
Knoche through it. I want to take Knoche
Yeah.
through it. I want to do a quick hitter, 4 or 5 questions. I want to get his gut reaction
Okay.
on like 4 or 5 things about the Maryland season coming up in 2020. Are you ready, Chris?
Go.
University of Maryland, more or less wins next year than this year overall.
More.
Leading scorer of the 2020 Terrapins.
Jalen Smith.
Who makes a bigger impact at the guard position? The biggest impact in 2020.
Well, I mean, okay.
Depends.
Relative to this year, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
relative to
say
this
that
year.
Aaron Wiggins will be your starting 2 guard next year, and
Yeah.
I'll go with Wiggins.
Okay. That because that's a huge call because they're gonna have a talented core of guards that have experience. Okay, so does Sticks come back?
Yeah. I mean, here he's going to go to the combine. I think that he and Bruno both go, obviously, to the combine. And Sticks is going to have these crazy measurables.
Yep.
But ultimately it becomes a kind of an issue of maturity, and I don't think there's any question that he runs like a deer. He can shoot out to 25 feet. He's got a good-looking jump shot.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of skills. He's got great hands. I just don't think psychologically he's ready to go. Now, if somebody says, "Hey, dude, we'll take you with the 12th pick," he could very well be gone. But I mean,
You
Kevin
can't
Huerter
say
last
no
year
to that, right, Chris? You can't say no to that.
What's that?
You can't say no to that.
No,
I don't think you can.
And you know what? I mean, you can't begrudge a guy for doing that. But I mean,
Right.
Herter
System
goes
sucks.
as an afterthought to the combine. And in his first drill, in a 3-point shooting drill, he makes 15 out of 15 shots.
Right.
So now all of a sudden people are like, "Holy cow! Look at this guy!" He's measures at 6'7". He's 19 years old. He's got long arms. He's a ginger too. I mean,
It's working out pretty well for him.
Right.
Hold up.
It's all working out pretty well for him right now, I think.
Hold on. He was about to
Yeah,
get to get to the ginger
really
part.
has, yeah.
You said it, Coach. I want to hear the ginger part. I got family. They're gonna love this.
If he would have won, if Maryland would have gone further, he could have potentially gotten Wilcoxed a little bit because Chris had a huge tournament and the Terrapins won it all, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, you're leaving, and then someone took him and he had to go. But he should have stayed in college basketball more than
that's a very good point, Ken, because I look at it just like that. I mean, Chris was a freakish athlete,
and they won.
And I don't know if he was necessarily ready for the NBA at that particular moment. But I mean, if you have a good tournament and you have a good combine, or
What's
what
he
have
coming
you,
back for?
What are you coming back for? Now,
I know.
with that being said, I saw how Jalen Smith took that game at the end.
Man.
Like, you could tell personally that he was hurt by that game. He took it on himself. He took the blame for it, and for a kid that's a freshman in his first NCAA tournament to feel that kind of responsibility and that kind of burden for a team, in a tournament he's never played on, it that shows a lot about him. So he may have something to prove next year. You never know those type of things from a psychological standpoint. He might say, you know what? I owe this to my team. I don't know if he feels that way, but it could be one of those things where he says that, you know what, I'm going to go do the combine, see how I do, but, I have some unfinished business to take care of. And Maryland's going to have a pretty good team next year, so you never know how that will play out.
He's a throwback.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that because when I saw him doing that on the court, first thing I thought about was I thought that sort of underscored how much his commitment to the whole thing had grown.
Yeah.
I thought early on in the season he was just sort of trying to figure things out,
Right.
and his play kind of came and went. It wasn't always very inspired. It just wasn't. The word I probably overuse sometimes is he just really didn't appear to be that invested.
Right.
And then yet when you see what happens there at the end of the game, in your last game of the season, I mean, that's a completely different look
Right.
and a completely different, optic, if you will. And I loved it. I mean, as much as you hate to see anybody in that kind of pain, it sort of, as I said, it just sort of underscored a growth in terms of his attachment to the cause, and that's a big thing.
Chris, who's the who on the current roster for the Maryland Terrapins will have the best NBA career?
Jalen.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I you know what
I think that's right.
I love Bruno. I mean he's a tremendous guy. He's a great personality. He's one of those guys on the bus. And if you've ever been a part of a team, there are always a couple of guys that just everybody gravitates towards, and Bruno's that guy.
Yeah.
I just don't know in today's NBA, and I think he's certainly an NBA player, but I just don't know in today's NBA that he's, Jalen's got all those things that they look for in a stretch guy, and Bruno, I mean the days of the 5-man are sort of come and gone. I mean,
Well,
obviously
Bruno,
you got Carl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid and a couple of special guys. Hey, Bruno ain't one of those guys.
Right.
but I think Bruno fits more of a mold like a Chris Thompson role. He's the rebounder, the defender, the guy that's going to protect the rim, the guy that's going to be the big body in the middle. He's not necessarily going to be your
If he's lucky,
offensive
Ben
weapon.
Wallace. If he's lucky,
A Ben
Or-
Wallace type.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, and he's also always going to be a great teammate. I mean, you don't have to worry about him being a clown, a knucklehead or anything like that. So, I mean, I root for the best. And by the way, I'm not entirely sold on the fact that he's gone. That doesn't, to me, I mean, I thought his play slipped a little bit. It's amazing. We had so much NBA traffic this year in games. And when I would talk to NBA guys, which I did almost every game, it kind of depressed me. Like when I was talking to them about Bruno, and Bruno had you average a double-double in a Power 5 conference. It's impressive. And there were games where, like the last game, you got 15 boards. And a game against Nebraska this year had 18 boards. You just don't see those numbers that much anymore.
Right.
But I would talk to NBA guys about Bruno because I loved him. And I was always amazed at how lukewarm they were about him.
Yeah.
And so I don't really know. I don't think it's necessarily a lock that he's gone. I think it depends a lot on who comes out. I think there's some variables there that just have to play itself out.
Is
And
that in
Maryland's
part-
getting two big guys. They're getting the twins, the 6'10", 6'11" twins. That if they have, because I thought that was a big part of Jalen's growth this year was being able to play alongside Bruno for Maryland to be able to go with whatever three guards they wanted and put Smith and Bruno together. I don't know how good the Mitchell twins are going to end up being at the college level, but they're big. And if you can put size back there, or now you're putting it around Jalen Smith, I think that could be something.
If Bruno comes back, and if there's some, and again, I think Chris is right hit it right on the head here, because when you watch Bruno play, and again, he's athletic, he's big, he brings a dynamic to the team that's needed in college basketball. But when you look at how his game may translate to the NBA, you just don't know. I mean, he can knock down jumpers. We've seen it. But on the he mentioned Embiid and Cat. Those guys hit threes. Those guys shoot threes. I mean, that's what they do to kind of expand their game a little bit more. And they also can play in the post.
They're also 2-3 inches
2 inches taller
I
than
mean,
him. Absolutely.
Those guys are freaks.
Yeah.
It's amazing those guys are in the league at the same time. Those are generational type packages there with those guys.
And then you're talking about Bruno's what, 6'9"?
Well, I think they're down on Bruno in that respect, Chris, because he's not taking the defensive rebound, leading a break, and dishing it off for an assist.
Right.
Which is with the wow factor. But I think in the right spot, Bruno could be a very effective pro.
He could. I mean, he could be an effective pro, but where are you going to take him? Like, where would you take Bruno in the draft? Like, is he a mid to late first? Is he
He's been in the lottery
second?
all year.
I don't know if he's a lottery.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, all the mock drafts,
I'm
Bruno
watching,
Fernando's
I'm
going.
talking to you guys right now. I got the Wizards on.
Yeah,
and it's
we're
muted,
watching the same thing.
obviously.
8-point
that?
game. We're watching the exact same game you are. Trust me. We got it
Spin
on.
move, block or charge, coach.
By the way,
That was a charge.
No
Clear
doubt.
charge.
hey,
No doubt.
Naki,
Like,
it's
to my way of thinking,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
like the Wizards could easily use a guy like Bruno, but you're not going to take Bruno they're going to be picking 6th to 8th or something like that, 6th to 9th.
Right.
You're not going to take Bruno Fernando with the 8th pick of the draft.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't have
So
the offensive
then,
arsenal.
then the question comes to Bruno. Well, do I want to be the 8th pick of the second round? Does that help me? I mean, if I came back, could I find myself in the lottery next year? So I don't know, man. I mean, there have been a lot of guys who have left early that I was up. I would think to myself, there's no way that guy should leave.
Right.
And yet they do it. It
Jordan
happens every
Williams.
single year. So
Jordan
I wouldn't
Williams.
be surprised by anything.
He could
that
be.
applies to Bruno.
He could boost his stock. Not a lot of guys go because you're only going to hurt your stock. He could boost his stock if he somehow improves and
His
is able
hands.
to be a much more effective on the offensive side of the ball.
But you know the thing about it is a lot of times people say the best way to improve is to improve against pro players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you go into an NBA camp and you're playing against grown men and you're playing against guys that are 5, 7, 8 years in the league and they're beating on you and you have their trainers and their coaches and their resources and all that, you're going to become a better player. So there's always an argument that says, okay, I could come back and play, or I could go against the best players in the world and improve every single day. So there's an argument to both sides. It just depends on kind of what what you're looking for and where you are in your game.
On Twitter today,
Yeah.
they both profess their love for each other.
Who's
Bruno and Turgeon on either Twitter, Instagram, or whatever. I saw it on Twitter. It was an "I love you" and I love you back.
Right.
It was to let Maryland Terp Nation know they love each other.
If Bruno
I
comes
think that's
back,
just a good thing.
if
I'm just
Bruno
telling you.
comes
it
back,
definitely is.
if Bruno comes back, Maryland has a legitimate shot at the Final Four next year.
I was going to say, why are you selling Maryland stock, Chris, going forward, going in next year?
Bruno sticks. And
Why would I
Callan.
sell it? I would
Yeah.
buy it.
No, that's what I mean. You're selling for somebody else to buy. Why would you buy it?
Well, I mean, they got, I thought the freshmen showed nicely this year. They
Ayala.
weren't always great, but they were really solid. And I think they also have the character that you need to survive a long season and to prosper during a long season. I think we've seen the tip of the iceberg in Jalen. And to Kevin's point, one of the things that he has to come to terms with, and I guess his parents do, and whoever he talks to, whoever's in that inner circle of his, I'm gonna throw a team out here this is just a random toss. Okay, so don't take this as gospel. So the Denver Nuggets, who've had a miraculous year. I watched them play, and think, gosh, if they're picking like 26 or 27, they could use a guy like Jalen Smith. There's no question about it. So then it becomes, what's good for Jalen? You listen to Denver and they say, hey, we're going to take you with the 28th. Just stay in the draft, hang tight. Do you do that, or do you go back to Division I basketball where you're playing 40 minutes a game instead of watching on the Nuggets bench? And they're both pretty good options, especially when the Nuggets are paying you a couple.
Denver's a
$1 million
fun
a year.
time, Chris. You know that. I would love to.
What's that?
Being a 20-year-old hanging out and living in Denver is 2 thumbs up on most travel guides I read these days.
Especially if you got a
I
Final
think
Four
we've
under
got
your belt.
I think we've got a couple different agendas.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think
Yeah.
Jalen's thinking differently
Ken's on
than
some
Ken
other
is.
stuff over here, man.
So, and I guess that maybe I should have picked
Yeah,
another
it's probably
city.
another city. Yeah.
It's the NBA,
But-
guys. Let's be honest.
But those are choices you have to make. I mean, I don't. There's not a doubt in my mind that he could be the 25th pick of the draft this year. But there is not a doubt in my mind that if he came back, he could be the 5th pick in the draft next year.
Yep.
Yeah.
But back to the question about. I just think that I'm not wild about the year Anthony Callan had, but I'm respectful of who he is and what he does and what he can do. He was a second-team All-League player. I struggled down the last 3 or 4 games of the season, but he mixed in with some of those other guys. That's a pretty potent group. I don't know much about the Mitchell twins and Dante Scott, some of the guys they signed. All I know is they're freshmen, and they're going to take their lumps when they come in next year. So we'll see. But I think there's plenty of talent there. There will be a bunch of guys lost to the rest of the Big Ten. I mean, next year would be, could be a great year.
It's crazy to think that Maryland, a Power 5 big time program, is going to have a senior point guard. I mean, anytime your team has a senior point guard, just forget about who it is. We all love Callan, but having a senior point guard who's going to be thinking about his performance down the stretch and coming back. I mean, choose a senior point guard. What else do you want in college basketball besides a senior point guard?
You're right. And I think that with Ant, what I saw this year out of him is, he had his ups and downs. I thought he showed more leadership. We had spoken in the summer when, Darren and I were with him, and I had a chance to coach him in Kenner League about being more of a leader, about being a little bit more expressive. Sometimes you got to come out of your shell, especially when you're dealing with when you're in a team and you're looked at as an upperclassman and people are looking at you, especially with all these freshmen coming in, as the guy that's going to kind of get them going. They're looking at you. You're the guy that's been here. And I thought from that standpoint, I thought Ant did a good job of being able to take on that leadership a little bit more than he did the year before. And his play was up and down a little bit, especially at the end. I thought he was very good in the beginning, in the middle, and he may be tired because he played a lot of minutes. I mean, let's really break it down. Anthony played a lot of minutes this year, and he had a burden that he had to handle as far as being an upperclassman, and he and Bruno. So it could have taken its toll on him. That doesn't take away from the season he had, because second team all conference in the Big Ten is not bad. And I think next year he can get a lot better with those guys, and even being more of a leader and being more of showing his what he's capable of. But I thought he had a good season. I think that he's going to be hard on himself down, especially in the tournament. He'll be hard on himself because I know what kind of person he is. I've seen it. But I think he'll come back. He'll make him stronger, and he'll come back and he'll have a good year next year.
Well, I was really impressed that he, as poorly as he shot the ball against Belmont, and he struggled in the first half against LSU, he came back and made some huge plays down the stretch of that game. And as well as I do, there's some guys that would have checked out in that situation, really would have gotten down on themselves. So, I give him a lot of credit for hanging in there and staying after it. Kevin, I don't know that, in terms of the whole floor leader thing, Anthony, by his very nature, is such a quiet kid.
Such a quiet kid,
and sort reserved. And sometimes I don't know if you can make a pig a duck. You know what I mean? He is who he is.
Right.
He is who he is. And I think he's made a lot of strides in terms of his leadership. I also, watching him play this year, I saw him practice in October, and he was playing a lot of two at the time, playing a lot of shooting guard.
Right.
And I swear to God, I would go through practices where he didn't miss a shot. It was incredible how efficient he was, how good he was before the season started. And then the season started, and it just didn't quite translate. And I'm sort of at a loss to figure out why that is. But maybe the lesson is that maybe, is he a one? Is he a two? Do you have to commit to playing him at one of those slots? I don't know. There are a few, that's just one of the takeaways that I'd have for this season. There are a couple others, but I think you have to sort of figure out what you're doing with Anthony moving forward, in terms of position.
I think that's something Turge is probably going to have to figure out. If he can move Anthony around, depending on the matchups, depending on who they're playing, depending on, whether or not he wants to get him shots or whether or not he wants him to facilitate. I think those are things that and it's a good problem to have when you're a coach and you have a player that can play different spots and different positions and do different things. So hopefully, coach will be able to kind of use that and, tell Ant during the summer, we're going to use you in different spots. You're going to be, off the ball some, and that'll help him. That might help his value moving forward, whether or not, who knows where he'll be after next year. But, that might help him, make him even more of a complete player to be able to play off the ball more and be able to look for his shot more. So we'll see. That might add another dynamic to his game that, Maryland's going to need next year. So we'll see. I think that's we'll see what happens with
Yeah, he
that.
could be an X factor for you for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so I want to get us out on. I have a twofer. Give me your 5 tonight, because we want to ease Knoche back into what we do here on a weekly basis. So here's what we're gonna do. We have 5 of us. 5 of us for the first round. It's gonna be easy. Give me your 5 ethnic food staples, and I'm gonna lead off and give you an obvious and an easy one. Okay, gyros. Who doesn't love a good gyro that qualifies as a Greek specialty? I'm asking.
Some people call them heroes.
Heroes, of course. Everyone here gets a pick, and then we're gonna get a little bit harder in the next round.
People.
And we're gonna go to
my
Strachan. Lead us. Take us at number 2.
Ethnic foods?
Yeah, an ethnic specialty it's in
I
your.
mean, I got to go with my staple, Kung Pao chicken.
There you go. Okay, so you're going with the Chinese food dish, Kung Pao chicken. All right, fair enough. Kevin Ricka?
Just playing the game,
It's Knoche's turn.
Oh no, not our guest tonight goes last.
I passed the juice.
All right, what do you got, Juice?
I'm gonna go along with Strack. I like General Tso's chicken.
All right, so you're gonna keep it in the Chinese.
Yeah, I got to go with the Chinese food.
I had that for
General
lunch today.
Tso's. Yeah, General
It's
Tso's.
delicious.
Technically not a Chinese dish.
Well, he was a
it's
Chinese
an American
general.
Chinese dish.
He fought for the.
I'm just pointing out little specifics.
He fought
though.
for somebody.
There, it's a technicality.
I think he fought over some chicken. I believe it was a fight about chicken, and they.
All right, I'm go. Okay, well, they serve it in a Chinese restaurant, General Tso's.
All right, there you go.
I'm
Come on, Ricka. What do you got?
Technical.
You eat everything and anything.
I've lost my appetite.
What do you got?
I'm waiting to hear what you got.
I lead it off with gyros.
Okay, gyros.
right, Jerry.
I'm gonna go with what Big Brother did because I'm not dealing with any of this nonsense.
All right, Knoche, round us out.
Yeah, you know what? I grew up in a Greek household. You guys, you stole my euro, but the Greeks make a kind of a Greek lasagna. It's called pastitsu. And, I go with rather than go Italian with pasta.
Yeah.
I go with the Greek lasagna.
Plato's Palette in Bethesda used to make an excellent version of that. I don't know if you ever had the chance to have that before they closed it down.
No, I've never been there. No.
It was closed a decade ago.
I have to ask one question.
Yeah.
Listen, the Avalemino that was made for me at an age I could never.
I was going to do that. But
I've tried to get there, and it never got there. But I would. You could put that in an IV for me on Sunday through Thursday, and I'd be fine.
All right. Okay.
The big.
It's so good, and it's ridiculous.
What is
it? It's egg lemon soup, man.
Yeah, egg lemon soup.
Except for it's not egg lemon soup because Knoche knows someone that makes it right. I need to get that number because it's not. But
what's the name of it? It's
the
called
most
what?
simple dish, Avalemino.
Avalemino.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
I've never heard of that.
You gotta have some of that.
I've never heard of
It's just a
Avalemino.
base. It's nothing.
There you go. There's
But
yours.
Someone.
That's
can
your. There
do
you go.
it.
That's it.
Oh,
There's your dish.
Oh, God.
There's your dish.
Surprised
You
no
just-
one went Indian, like a chicken curry or something.
Indian. We had Mexican. You had Spanish. A lot of things didn't go down. German chocolate cake never
Well,
happened.
I'm married to a Mexican, so I don't
Yeah.
see that. That's a homegrown dish for me.
Sure. You don't see
I don't
dishes
think
that
of
way.
it
You
that
don't
way.
you don't see food that way. We understand. We understand. All right, so that warms us up. All right, so I'm really upset that Darren wasn't here tonight because I really thought this Give Me Your 5 was going to be something he would enjoy. But I know everyone here can step
No,
up.
he'd say gummy bears.
Well, no matter what the question was, he would say gummy
From
bears.
Germany.
From Germany, of
Yes.
course, German
Yes.
gummy bears.
German gummy bears.
All right, so Knoche, I think you're gonna like this. Give me your 5 best TV action heroes. TV action heroes. It could be any character on any show you ever loved. TV action hero. Now I went first with Gyros last time. I'd rather not lead us off. I'm ready to if I have to. But
Mork
TV,
from Ork. I'm going to give you
you're
Mork
going
from
Mork
Ork.
from-
Yes.
What you
Mork
got?
from
What you
Ork.
got,
I
Coach?
don't think
Action
anyone
hero?
was putting that. A TV action hero. All right,
he's
all right.
amazing.
Knoche,
you got,
what do you got,
Coach?
Knock?
I got MacGyver.
Ah,
that's
it's
a good
great.
one.
It is great.
Come on, man.
That's a good
I mean,
one.
all you need is chewing gum, and he can fix pretty much anything. And that's just the ultimate badass.
His name was the show, so obviously
MacGyver, yeah.
Mork from Ork
Yeah.
didn't work. And
Who
then
you
T,
got,
we got
Strat?
T is madly searching. What do you
No,
The AP wire is getting back to Strachan quickly.
Juice, you got
I'm
anything
looking for his
us?
official name.
The $6 million man.
I
Yeah,
got-
the
I got-
$6 million man.
That's who it was. I couldn't remember his last
Steve
name.
Austin.
Damn.
Steve Austin.
Steve Austin.
That's great.
Steve Austin.
Steve Austin, the $6 million man.
We
That's
can
my guy,
rebuild.
All
man.
right, I got a
him.
backup.
All right, what do you got?
B.A. Baracus.
Oh, I was actually going in the A-team style too. B.A., Baracus, Mr. T, destroyed it on the A-team. That's fantastic. So I'm gonna say and I'm gonna go unconventional here because I think for many people, Jack Tripper was as involved in as much physical comedy as
Listen,
any.
What
That's
are
it.
you-
See, this
Who
is
got
what
more
you gotta
action
get
than
off
Jack
the-
Tripper?
Stop.
Who got
You
more
stepped
action
on
than Jack
Kevin.
Tripper?
You
For
gave
Mork.
me shit. Mork was intergalactic
No.
planetary.
Jack
and you
Tripper
gave me shit.
got
You
the most action.
You took some feathered butt cut
His
from the
landlord
Regal
thought he was
Beagle.
gay.
His landlord thought he was
Both
gay.
of them.
Yeah,
Both of them.
meanwhile-
Both sets thought he was gay.
Meanwhile, the
Furley
guy
and Roper.
got
the Furleys and the
more.
Ropers.
He destroyed it. He got nothing but action.
When?
No, he
Jack
didn't.
When did he get any action?
No, he
Wait, you are you sitting here?
He never
right
brought
now?
anybody home. He
Yes, that's not
couldn't.
true.
was
That's
always
not true.
looking, no. He was always looking forward to it.
There
Are
was
you
no
guys
top kid.
honestly
There was
saying
a
right
toothbrush
now-
and some
Coach,
talc
please-
powder.
please
That
forgive
Jack
us.
Tripper didn't get after it. That you're saying he never closed the deal. It was the 70s, and he was living with. I mean, come on, he was destroying it.
No, we're saying what
Well,
Mrs.
you don't think
Roper
Michael
said.
Knight killed it?
Michael Knight did kill it.
He was an action
And
hero.
he was an
more
action
than
hero.
Jack Tripper.
Oh no, the physical comedy of Jack Tripper alone, not to
Is
mention
this some,
the
are
action
you
that
guys
he
getting
got.
into some car shit, or what are we doing here?
You don't like Michael Knight?
Michael.
Michael.
The emergency
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a
no,
good one.
it was good, but it was weird.
Magnum PI.
So wait,
Magnum
we
PI
have,
was my
we have
backup. That was my
MacGyver. We have
backup.
MacGyver.
Mork.
$6 million man.
$6 million man.
Interplanetary. Fuck you. guys. Pardon
Baracus,
me.
and you had
Jack Tripper,
and okay.
who got more action than all your guys
okay.
combined.
Terrible.
All right.
Terrible.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you need to knock it off.
You need to knock
You
it off.
Yeah.
knock it off.
You
need to
too.
knock
need
it
Yeah, I
to
could have
knock
said
it
Fletcher
off.
McGee, but did I? I did not
do.
say Fletcher McGee.
Yeah, Mork.
Yeah. You need to knock it off.
Interplanetary from the goalpost in Colorado State. Jesus
Absolutely
H.
terrible.
Right
the
into
worst.
Denver.
What
Absolutely
heroics
Right into
did he-
Denver.
Oh.
Right where Coach Knoche said Mork should
Absolutely.
go.
What
You're the
heroics
Al
Guys aren't
Davis.
paying attention.
You're the Al Davis of action hero TV star. I mean,
You know
what
what
did,
Mark
did, you,
did?
did you run a fast 40? You probably
All
ran
right,
a fast 40.
let's
You haven't
let's
even
wrap
got- you
this
haven't
up,
even gotten
man.
into the
Let's wrap this
Westerns
up. We
yet.
got Coach on the line just listening to us. Just
He must run a fast 40. Was he like Robert Gallery? Did he just like was he all tatted out and just like bench pressed a house?
No, he wore a goddamn freaking rainbow vest and appeared from a different planet.
He certainly
Sorry.
did. He did.
right.
No, he did.
My bad.
But I don't remember him
Naki.
out
Right
Jack
in
Tripper.
the heart of Denver.
Save
In the
us.
heart.
Save
hey,
us,
Coach,
Naki.
Coach, forgive us, man.
Hey, you're
Yeah,
when can we
We're getting off. We're getting on
Hey.
it. We're getting a little
when
aggressive.
can we book you for the basement?
yeah.
Chris, when is that gonna happen? Are we talking like
This
tomorrow or
wasn't a great invite.
Thursday?
You know what?
Maybe Sunday morning?
Next time I'm invited, I'll definitely post. No
All
question.
right, cool.
All right, good,
My man.
good.
All right.
Hey, how can we listen to your podcast? You and Gary's show.
Well, apparently you got to go to Chatters.
DC basketball coaches DC podcast is what it is, and we record every Monday night, and easy to find
Good stuff.
anywhere. And follow me on Twitter at xcoachnaki.com, and all those things are on Twitter.
Coach, who's your Final Four?
You know what I love? I like North Carolina winning this thing. To be honest with you,
Ooh.
I'm maybe it's because I'm rooting against Duke, and I think that I think Carolina matches up really well. They've got a nice mix of youth and older guys, and I think the games in the West this weekend are going to be huge. I love the Florida State Gonzaga game; could be great. Texas Tech Michigan is epic as
That's
well.
the Friday
I'm
night
kind of
matchup.
into,
Yeah.
I like Florida State. I like the way they're playing right now.
They beat Gonzaga last year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They beat Gonzaga last year in this tournament when they were ready to rock and roll.
I
sure did.
have an all ACC Final Four.
What?
Oh, do you really?
Absolutely. I have an all ACC
I think
Final
things-
Four.
Things have
What
opened up
conference
for
did you play in?
Virginia. I think they're in great shape.
I'm telling y'all right
Um,
now, man. I'm telling you right now, all ACC Final Four. I'm
All right.
not joking. I'm not joking.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
out,
like,
out of the
I
question.
Like Florida State. I like Florida State, Duke, and Carolina. And I guess Virginia things have opened up over there too. So
Yeah.
But I do like Carolina winning
I
it
don't know.
all.
Oregon scares me
I
again.
think it might be their
That
year.
Oregon-Virginia matchup scares me.
How bad?
Oregon is good.
Even though
man.
you probably, I don't know if you know him personally
I
or not,
mean-
but how bad did your heart feel when you saw Dawkins' kid just barely miss that tip in?
Okay, Tim, that tip is a 99 out of
Ugh.
100 tip. That is,
Unbelievable.
it's almost, it's stunning, and he was so good
Yeah.
all game long.
Yeah.
He's
It
a pro.
seemed to be the story seemed to be written for him, to be the hero. He grew up his first 10 years of his life he spent in Durham, and it was too good a story. But you think about all the what ifs that happened in that game. UCF is up 4 and they have a breakaway and mess up an alley oop.
Yeah.
So and then all of a sudden, you get the push on the missed free throw. How about if Zion makes that free throw, and now you're tied, and UCF is holding for round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a different game completely.
different
So
game
he
completely.
short arms the free throw, and Barrett pushes his guy and subtly, and there's no call made. And I mean,
There was no box
it's
out.
just incredible.
He stood there.
Huh?
I seen it. Coach, he stood there. He didn't throw an ass into nobody. He stood there and watched, and he got moved.
Well, and look at what
So
Taco could have done for both the rebound off the free throw or the tip in. I mean, but
But I'm gonna tell you something though. I'm gonna tell you something.
After a while, it's not all lucky, right?
It looks like
After
the
a while,
IBO.
it's
It
not all
looks like
lucky.
the IBO Confederation.
I thought that
around
was a
here
no
right
call.
now.
I thought that was a no call though on Taco
You did.
because
Both. You said both
Zion
were
could
no
have very
calls.
easily been called for a charge, and they didn't call it, which they shouldn't.
Prior to getting the Taco,
Which they shouldn't have. But
They
then
called it-
I thought that
they called
I
it
thought
2 trips
Taco's
before.
I thought Taco's hands were. I don't think that was a foul on Taco. If that's not a foul on Taco, different story. Because I don't think they get. I don't. I mean, it's different. It's a
2
different
minutes,
game.
10 seconds left. Duke's down by 2. Zion spins on the left side. Aubrey Dawkins fell like I hit him.
Yeah, they called
with everything
it
I
a
had,
charge.
And they called it a charge. Back this way. Zion's 4th foul.
Yeah.
Duke down 2. Threw it back this way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It was great. It was a great game.
Everyone's
It
got
was a great
stripes.
game.
It
It was.
Yeah.
It was a
It was
classic.
sick.
That was a classic. That
And
was a
as
classic.
That young
for-
kids was the best.
As for Aubrey Dawkins' tip at the
yes.
end, it's 99 out of 100. As a room full of Maryland fans mostly would tell you, we shot 0% from 1 inch away from the rim for a while there in that game, and the Belmont game for that matter.
It happens, man. Sometimes the basketball gods aren't good.
That's
to you.
right.
So anyway,
That's
the-
right. That's right.
anyway,
Basketball gods were good to us tonight because we got to hang out with our friend Chris Knoche. Thank you so much for hanging out with us
Coach,
tonight, Chris.
appreciate you, my man.
All right, anytime, boys. Yeah,
All
stay
right.
in touch with me. Let me know when I can make the roadie over your way.
Yeah,
You got it,
tell
man.
Gary I'm coming to Chatter. I just need him to pick me up and take me out of the chair and help me get the chair down, and then maybe I can enjoy your all podcast in person.
Fire escape style. We'll all be there. We'll run a fire
You're on your
drill.
way, man.
All
All
right.
right, my man. All right, good night.
All right, see you guys.
See you, brother.
All right, guys. That puts the closing arguments in for another good solid Tuesday night. Hey, listen, we missed Darren tonight. We had 2 good additions.
Yes, we did.
Pardon
He's-
for the last minute additions.
He's Kevin
Nah,
Ricka.
we're good.
Yeah, no, I try not to say too much, but hey, aside from Darren not being here, Chris Knoche is one of my favorite guys that's ever been a part of this
He gives
basement.
a lot of
It's been
insight,
almost
man.
4 years, man.
Yeah.
He just brings it.
Yeah, he does.
And he's the same guy sitting at the poker table as he is sitting outside, walking in the door.
Yeah.
Cool stuff,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Always
It's
to have
it's
him.
good to have him on there because obviously he kind of feels the pulse of the Maryland basketball
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
program, and for him to give that insight as far as what he saw, and then on with the future of Maryland, I thought it was pretty good for him to come in and kind of give us his take. So
He's Tim
Thanks,
Strachan.
Coach.
Hey, Juice, thanks for having me on, man.
absolutely,
Appreciate
my
it.
man. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, HotBox Nation, for having us on. This was a lot of fun.
Big brother.
Good
Kevin
job,
McClinton.
guys. Appreciate you guys filling in for my little brother. He'll be back next Tuesday, but we just got to keep. When one guy's not here, we got to keep rolling, man.
Oh, we
Appreciate
didn't
you
fill
guys
in,
doing
but
it.
we did sit here.
Yes, you did.
Thanks for
yes,
having
you
us.
did. Yes, you did, man. I know Darren's happy about it, so we'll see him next week. Good
Whether
job.
solo or with his bandmates for the Commodores, it's been a Lionel Richie heavy night. No reason why that should stop now as we turn it up a little bit of Stuck on you. That's how we feel
I'm
about
stuck
Darren
on the
McClinton.
fact that you said Jack Tripper, man.
Seriously.
That was terrible, man.
Awful.
Like,
No
I
one got
don't
more
know.
You
action.
could have asked any question.
Any other
and then
one,
said
man. And
Jack
he said
Tripper. You
Jack
said, "What's your
Tripper."
favorite?"
It didn't even matter
what
what the
restaurant?
question was.
What restaurant makes your favorite nachos?
Right.
And they get to him.
The
He'd say,
Regal Beagle.
Jack.
One of the very most gifted physical comedians ever. The
That's
guy
what
was
Jack
the guy was
Tripper,
as physical
I
as
was
it
just gonna
comes.
say
That's
Jack
what you would have
Tripper.
said.
He
You would
was
have said the Regal
physical as
Beagle.
it
Say
comes.
Jack Tripper.
But
could've
you
said-
never saw him getting anything anywhere.
That's not true.
Who?
It was always implied that he wasn't getting
No,
it
no,
was
it was
down.
always
implied,
implied
but it
that he
wasn't-
couldn't wait till.
Did you
Dude,
ever
he
see
was
him?
not. Oh, you guys.
Did you
this
ever
is
see
this
him
is a
at
big
a-
He was
story,
always
by the way.
lining
This
it
is
up.
a big story.
He was always
He was a
lining it
chef.
up, never nailing
Was
it
he a
home.
Never.
monk? You a priest? I mean, you think he actually, in order to keep things straight with Mr. Furley, he
lived
never got down with
he
the
lived
ladies?
with 2 women.
You guys are crazy.
His landlord thought he was gay.
He was the Buffalo
where was
There
Bills
he
was,
of-
by the
doing
way, there
anything?
was constant references between conversations between Larry and Jack that reference action that
Now,
Jack's
Larry
gotten
was off the hook.
on the regular.
Larry
oh,
was
Larry
off
was
the hook.
picking up Jack's scraps.
Larry
Larry
always
had
no,
his
no.
own-
Okay, I got
He
it.
had
I got
his own
it.
apartment.
Larry,
Guys,
Larry
guys.
always talked about after the fact.
Best
Jack
neighbor,
always
best
talked
neighbor.
about before
Who's
the
getting
fact.
fake butt cheeks? Is it too late?
what I'm
Are we
saying.
still live?
No, and more
Yeah,
from
no,
work.
we are. We're still
All right.
on. Say goodbye.
Yeah,
All right,
Mark.
guys.
Mark could disappear.
Thank
He
you,
could reappear,
Hotbox
he could
Nation.
disappear.
Appreciate you.
It's
On
all right.
behalf of
I
First
think-
Amendment Sports and Basement
Knock it off,
Podcast
Ken.
Studios everywhere. Take it easy
Fletcher
over there,
McGee.
Fletcher McGee.
Terrible.
I don't know what that was all about. Ofer.
Fletcher McGee.
Down
and
in flames.
And Jack
Good night.
Tripper. Both went over 12.
Come back next week when we will not be over 12 on another
Might
episode
be.
of.
The hot box.
Yeah, that's the
You
hot
might
box.
be.
Oh no!
Appreciate you. Isn't that what
There you
what-
go.
what-
There you
Daniel?
go.
Steph
There you
Curry
go.
style.
Good job.
All right, we're still alive.
Good night.
Don't. We're still alive.
Fletcher McGee.
I do apologize for some of the discussion tonight. It was Jack Tripper.
It was terrible.